Hey guys, Vlad here with AVT-Astro, and today I've got a pretty interesting review for you guys, and that is of the SVBONY 205. Wait a second, there's two cameras there, what's going on? Well, some of you guys have probably seen, I did a review of the SVBONY 105 before the SVBONY actually sent this to me for a review. I just inherited one of their 205s with a scope that I recently picked up, so I thought I'd do a review of this guy as well. And for those of you that might not be familiar, I run a little Astro blog called AVT-Astro.com, and of course this YouTube channel, so if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Just in general, over the years I've owned over 100 scopes and more accessories than I could count. So anyhow, let's get into the review. So what's the difference between these two guys? What are these guys, just generally speaking, what are they made for? These are made to be more of like a planetary camera, possibly moon as well. So anyhow, let's get into comparing the specs on these guys. Alright, here's the specometer. So basically, the SVBONY 105, which is this one right here with the USB 2.0, it is a USB 2.0 camera. The 205 is the USB 3.0 camera. This one is 2 megapixels, this is 8 megapixels. So that's really the big difference, that this has, quite a bit more resolution. The resolution is higher on this. So why would you care about that, or should you care about that? Well, basically the other difference between this, being higher resolution is that the pixels are actually smaller on this guy. So the pixels on this one are, gotta consult the specs here. They are 1.4 by 1.4 micrometers, whereas on this one they are 3 by 3 basically. So what does that mean? Like, why would you care? Well, I mean, considering that these are made to be primarily a planetary camera, imaging camera, if you think about it logically, the smaller the pixel size, besides even having more resolution, but the smaller the pixel size, the more detail that you can capture with the camera. So generally speaking, not only are you going to get more real estate that you could potentially capture, which for the planets you probably don't really care because the planet's really small. It's not a big object, so you don't really care too much about the extra resolution. But you do care about the smaller pixel size because it will capture more detail. Now, if you are into capturing the moon, depending on your, on the focal length of your telescope, like if you have an SC2 with a pretty long focal length, the moon may not fit into the field of view if you want to capture like the entire disk of the moon with the 105, but it may with the 205. So anyhow, you guys probably heard me talking enough and you guys want to see these things in action, so we're going to, by the magic of YouTube, snap our fingers and end up outside and be imaging with this camera. Alrighty, ladies and germs, welcome outside. So tonight we are going to be recording Jupiter with the following gear. Of course, we've got the SVBONY SV205 plugged into the scope there. We'll probably actually add a Barlow to that eventually, but for now she's like that. Scope-wise, we're using the 5-inch Celestron 127 SL model. Pretty good scope for capturing the planets. Just in case you're curious, the scope is outfitted with the Celestron battery pack, the LT, that I recently did a review on. It does have the GPS unit equipped. It's got the star sense going on here. So this thing, it's kind of rigged out. This is my homemade dew shield that I made, actually, for my other 5-inch Mac. Fits on there just fine. And just in case you are curious about any of this other equipment besides the camera that we're taking a look at today, I am going to have links to all of this gear in the description of the video, so check them out. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, we've got Jupiter on the screen there. I already did a rough focus. We're going to mess around with it a little bit here. Basically, actually what I had to do is I had to take the little end piece off of the Barlow and screw it into the camera, and then put the camera into the scope. It wouldn't reach focus with the whole Barlow in there. I feel like we're getting actually a pretty decent image scale though. We're at 125 milliseconds of exposure. With the 5-inch Mac, the brightness probably wouldn't really be there anyway to do the full 2x. So I think we're operating at about 1.5x or so right now. So anyhow, I'm gonna mess around with the focus. I'll probably fast forward the procedure here on camera, and then we'll start to get the capture going. Alright guys, so I'm feeling like the focus is pretty good now, for the scene that we've got, which again here in the Northwest usually is not that great, unfortunately. So I'm actually going to position the planet a little bit this side of the frame, because it's kind of drifting that way, the way that the mount's running tonight. So and then yeah, I'm gonna start the capture basically. Probably just going to do we're gonna try to do 2000 frames. So the capture is going right now. The counter is already counting down, so we'll get this captured, we'll get it processed, and we'll see kind of how the image looks like in the final product. Alright, welcome back guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So I just took, as you saw in the clip, a quick, snapshot of Jupiter with the 5-inch Mac. So pretty typical telescope that you'd probably be using one of these with. So the focal length on that telescope is 1500 millimeters. And I'm going to post the image that, is processed of Jupiter in right now. As you can see, not really huge. So if your telescope, especially if you're using a refractor or something like that, and it's got a pretty short focal length, you will want to pick up a Barlow lens as well. And actually, you probably need either a Barlow lens or an extension tube to reach focus with a refractor anyhow. But for the planets, you'd probably want a minimum of like 1500 millimeters, so do keep that in mind. As you can see, the scene that last night wasn't too particularly great, so not too terribly much detail. Jupiter is also really low in the sky right now, so it's it's not exactly a great example of what the camera is capable of. But I just want to kind of try it out and kind of put it through its paces. The other difference that I did notice between these is that this can only go up to half a second of exposure, and this one will actually do a full second of exposure. So that may or may not matter. Typically, you're probably not going to go over half a second anyhow. But it is nice to have the option to do that though. Alright, so kind of to conclude this and bring the ship home, is the 205 worth it over the 105? It depends. If you're into imaging the moon, and you have a longer focal length scope, I'd say it definitely is, because that way you could probably fit the whole disk of the moon in, right? For the planets, it is actually more handy too because of that smaller pixel size. It really kind of depends on your scene. If we were working with the scene last night, I never actually do that. But if I took images with both of these cameras, I'm pretty sure they'd look, the same. So I don't really think they'd make too much of a difference with the scene we had last night. But if you're one of those patient people and you're willing to get those, wait for those nights of good scene, or if you live in an area that just has a good scene, or that you have good scene, kind of more consistently, I think this is definitely going to be worth it. So price wise right now, the 105 on Amazon is 59 bucks, the 205 is 99 bucks, so it's a $40 price difference. Is it worth it? I'd say, if I was buying a camera, right, and I knew that, I'm just doing, just, what do I want to say, just planetary, just the moon, I probably would, go for the 205 because, I think the extra 40 bucks is well worth it. You are kind of getting a little bit closer in price to, like a decent, CWO camera, something like the 224 MC, which is actually, it'd be a really good planetary camera, a moon camera. And you could do some EAA with it. If you're not familiar with what EAA is, you know, check out my video about that. But overall, yeah, for the planets and that type of deal, great camera. You know, if you're on a super tight budget, I wouldn't hesitate to pick up the 105. I mean, you know, I'm sure you can capture very, very good images with this, especially if you're patient and willing to wait for those nights of good seeing. So anyhow, hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave them in the thing below. If you're not subscribed, again, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.